Our next chapter is make it about people. For anybody that is a leader and that has achieved any type of mark, it's always about people. Because the moment it becomes only about us, the vision shrinks. There isn't much to it. There isn't much at all. It loses a lot of its flavor. But when you make it about people, the vision expands. I've listened to John Maxwell. Even last week, he talked about people. He talked about valuing people. We have to impact people. When you're thinking about working for yourself, when you're thinking about creating these visions, when you're thinking about walking the walk of the greats, it has to be about people. But how do you actually make it about people? How do you treat people? How do you grow with people? How do you make sure that people stay with you? All of our visions, our dreams that we've shared, they are not going to happen overnight. We are talking about years and years and years. I'm talking about being self-employed for over 20 years. Coach Madison, you're talking about this work you've been doing in leadership for several years on this master course, the conferences, the people you meet, going on the tour, writing a book. It takes years. So how do you make sure that people stay with you? How do you make sure you work with people? How do you make sure the vision expands like Job's vision expanded and has touched our lives today? So this chapter is very, very important. First, it brings it to light who the people are. Some of the people will never know. They are behind the scenes. If you're traveling on an airplane, the people that manufacture those airplanes, the brains behind them, the people that run the airports, the leaders that make sure that we take off and land, those are everyday people. Those are people behind the scenes. But who is moving them? Who is leading them to make sure that they perform as well as they are performing? They have to make it about the people. We talk about self-esteem. Great leaders are very good at building other people's self-esteem. Just listen to them. Listen to the great coaches. Listen to the great ones that we look up to, the great ones that have made an impact in history. They help other people become the best versions of themselves. So we talk about help others build self-esteem in the book. We talk about the power of politeness. We talk about the power of tolerance. I'm telling you, tolerance. Sometimes you have to pray the Holy Ghost, like, oh my gosh, help me. When you're a leader, you have to tolerate. Look at the work that we want to do. Work with women, build poultry farms, write books. People are going to rub you the wrong way. People are going to not come through with their contracts. You're going to lose money. People will not show up, but it is still part of the journey. And so you have to learn how to handle people, because if you don't learn how to handle people, first, your reputation is going to tank. Nobody wants to deal with a leader that does not know how to handle themselves. So even if somebody rubs you the wrong way, the way you respond makes a mark on you, not even them. So you have to learn to be very tolerant. You have to learn to be very humble, polite. And still, I take it back to the leaders that we look up to. When you look at the Nelson Mandelas, the Gandhis, the ones that have made a mark, just look at their temperament in how they dealt with people. So we have to make it about people. But the skill that I really wanted us to talk about, it's a very soft skill, but one that I realized in all these years of working in sales and building my business, that skill is very important. It's a success skill, very important one. Sometimes it is very easy to overlook. And that success skill is learning how to listen. So we talk about listening works. Being able to listen to people and hear them is a success skill. And you can use that success skill to build your business empire, to build your brand, just by listening to people very, very carefully. When you take a look at companies that we do business with, especially here in the US, they're always asking us for feedback. They're always asking us, how did this service go? What do you like? We are living in a world of data where you go and research something online, they collect it, and companies use it to know what you want so they can sell to you. There are 3 reasons why great leaders have to be expert listeners. That means that you have to listen more than you speak when you are in the trenches of working for yourselves. Here is why. 3 reasons. Number 1, when you listen, it helps you understand the person that's sitting across from you. So when you listen to somebody, let's say you had a business meeting and you meet somebody, you introduce yourself, the tendency is usually for us to just tell them about ourselves, tell them about why we are here, why they should buy our product, why we are excited about the product. So you see, you're pouring so much information on the person. But where you have failed is that you may not even really understand who this person is and how your service or product will meet their need. One of the things that we did and became successful in sales is that we used to listen to the person. So when I meet you, I want to listen to you. I actually would prefer for you to do much of the talking, because when you do much of the talking, I begin to understand you. I begin to understand your needs. I begin to understand how my product or service will answer that need. How my product or service will be a solution to you, because I've understood, I'm beginning to understand you. If nothing else in this session, let's become leaders who listen intently so that we can understand the people that we are working with. Number 1. So listening helps us understand so that we can see how our products or services meet the need that we are looking to fill, right? Number 2, listening helps us retain relationships and build longevity. When you listen to people, they feel that you're hearing them. They feel that their input matters. They feel that they can continue on with you, that you guys are working together. And when we listen, we have to hear. Sometimes a person may listen, but they just want to respond. They fail to really hear what the person is saying. But when we listen as leaders, we should listen to actually hear what this person is saying, and then have it marinate in our brains and then see how to interact with them. So when you listen, it breeds longevity in the relationship because there's a give and take. The truth is just that when you're a leader, you may have more knowledge, you may have more information, you may have more experience, and it is sometimes very easy to just give. But sometimes people also want to feel like they know something, like they can contribute something. Even their experiences can be meaningful to you. So when you are working for yourself, whether you're sitting in front of contractors, whether you're sitting in front of investors, whether you're sitting in front of clients, you want to listen to them so that they should feel like they are part of the process as well. Number 3, when you listen to people, they will always feel valued. John Maxwell talks about that a lot. And during our last masterclass, one of the questions was how are we going to value people more? One of the ways that you value people more is by listening to them. You listen to them and you hear what matters to them, what their dreams are, what their goals are. I do that a lot with my clients. Sometimes they will call me And we can spend 30 minutes just talking about what's going on in their personal lives, their kids, their goals, where they see themselves, some of their struggles, because it makes them feel valued. It makes them feel like they matter. It took me a while to actually understand the power of listening, and come to think about it. If, let's say, you look up to somebody, most of us here have spiritual mentors that we look up to, we go to them. When you go to them, what happens? If you call up a spiritual mentor and you say, I need to talk to you, and you go, what do? They listen. They will sit back and listen to you, air out what's in your mind, and then they can now share a perspective. They can give you guidance. They can provide some solutions. A lot of them are not quick to talk, they just listen. So listening is a powerful success skill. It is very important. In the book, we talk about why listen, and we write about the COO of Sam's Club. She's a female. She was the first African-American woman to hold that Chief Operating Officer position at Sam's Club. We know Sam's Club is huge. This is what she said. She said, you have to manage people the way they want to be managed. So which goes back to when I said, when you listen to people, you understand them, and then you understand how to fit your product or your service into their lives, right? So she said, not everybody is the same. She said, I have different conversations with people that work for me or down in the organization. I don't expect each one of them to show up the same way every day. You see, people change, stuff is changing, but you want to understand what's going on. She says, but I get to know who they are and how they are and how we are going to interact. By listening, I get to know who they are and how we are going to interact. She says, the first thing about leadership is respecting who the individuals are and getting to know them very well. The second thing I try to do is to really listen. I do a lot of listening. You see, from what she's saying, it all comes into these points we've made. Listen to understand. Listen to retain and build longevity in your relationship. And listen so that people will know that they really matter.